How you doing, everybody? Nick DiVirgilio here with Mark Hornsby at Sweetwater Studios, and we're talking about how to get a great tom sound using Telefunken microphones.
Whether you have one rack tom like Al Jackson Jr. or 257 of them like Terry Bozzio, a common principle applies. Toms, like a kick drum, and drums in general, are going to be a resonant instrument. First of all, microphones. On these four toms, we have the Telefunken M81 short body microphone. As a reminder, the M81 has a flat frequency response on the top end, unlike the M80, which has that high lift at 5K. The high lift at 5K could give you a lot of cut through on the toms, but sometimes it's going to make it sound a little bit thinner than you may like. Some people like toms to sound big and thuddy and larger than life. The M81s, because of their flat frequency response, deliver that. Secondly, having the same type of microphone on all four of the toms can be a cool thing. Everything's a preference. Some people may like a small diaphragm condenser on rack toms and large diaphragms on floor toms. That's fine. We like the approach of from one tom to the other, it's going to have the same sonic signature by using the same microphone. The great thing about the M81s on the toms is the flat frequency response. When you have a microphone that's extremely flat in response, it takes the EQ really well. And admittedly, when it comes to toms, the lower mid-range is the first thing I reach for on an EQ to carve out, minimize, or turn down during a mix. They ring down there. Typically on the toms, I want to hear the big lows and the attack of the highs. I don't need that lower mid-range as much. So the M81s capture the tone of the drums and at the same time allow me to get in there and get rid of some of the frequencies that the instrument is naturally giving off. Right now, I have some EQ on all four of the tom microphones. I'm cutting about 6 dB at 350 hertz. This is to reduce some of that low mid-range buildup, which is a result of the close proximity of the microphones to the tom's drumhead. Additionally, the off-axis rejection of the M81s is crucial when it comes to toms. You got a cymbal here, you got a ride cymbal there. There's a lot of bleed going on with the tom microphones in a drum track. So because the M80 and the M81, that family of microphone, is so closer to sounding hypercardioid, it really helps isolate the toms in a drum performance.
When it comes to tom-toms, you want to have a good wide interval in tone of the drums. As you can see here, I have 2 rack toms and 2 floor toms, a 10-inch rack, 12-inch rack, 16, and a really big 18-inch rack floor tom over here on my right side. I'm using Remo Clear Emperor heads for a nice attack and crack to the drums. There's no dampening on the heads. I have a trick that I've used for a long time now, and it's an old trick that's been around for many years. I put a little bit of cotton on the inside of the drum. What that does is it dampens the decay of the drum. Floor toms especially can ring for a really long time. The way drum manufacturers make their drums now, the edges are so tight and sharp that the drums can sustain for a really long time. That cotton just helps that sustain shorten a little bit, which is usually really cool and really good for recordings. The reason that happens is when you hit the drum, the 2 heads move and then there's air that bounces back and forth. When you hit the drum, the cotton on the bottom head will jump off the bottom head and then land back down on it and shortens that sustain. But it doesn't take away any of the attack from the top head. You can put rings, moon gel, tape, and all kinds of stuff on the top head to do that same kind of thing of taking away the sustain, but you'll also take away the attack of the stick hitting the head. And it's very much my preference to not take away that attack, but to take away some of the sustain, and cotton is a great trick for that. So now let's hear these toms, how I have them tuned. The snare wires are off, so there's no buzz in the background. Now let me play you this low floor tom again by itself so you can hear how the sustain is there. It's not completely gone, but it is musical and goes away in a pretty short amount of time. So now I'm going to put the snare wires on, because most of the time when you play your drums, you'll have the snare wires on, so you'll hear a buzz in the background, which is a natural part of the drum kit sound. And let's play these toms again. When it comes to tuning your toms, there's many ways to do it, and it all depends on the size of your drums as well. But what I do is try to get the pitch of the top head and the bottom head to be the same to start with, and then if I want a little more sustain, I'll tighten up the bottom head, and if I want a little more of that sort of pitch divey sound, the kind of sound, I'll lower the pitch of the bottom head. So now let's hear the toms in context with the entire drum set.
If you'd like any more information about Telefunken microphones, contact your Sweetwater sales engineer.